Right. Good day, everyone. This is Rahul Reddy. I am the mentor at Career Launcher and head of Career Launcher Bangalore. I am with Pradyot Shah, who is the All India Rank 2 from CLAT 2024. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Right. And yes, it's a interesting setup because as a mentor, I had also given CLAT 24 and we ended up with the same marks, and I'm one rank lower at AR3. So yeah, that's a interesting setup. So we have the rank three interviewing the rank two, right? So tell me a little bit about yourself, your background, where you're from, and what school, etc.
Yeah. So I've been born and brought up in Bangalore my entire life. My parents are both architects, and they're from the north, Delhi and Gujarat. And I'm from a science background. So like, as in, I've been studying science my entire life. I even took up science in 12th grade. So doing law was something that many people thought was like somewhat of a bad idea for me, and they didn't think it would work out. But and initially even I felt the same way, that it was just an option that I was like trying to look into, see if it would be something that I might consider. But once I got into it, I really loved it, and I like got inspired, and I thought, yes, this is something that I want to do, that I want to pursue. So I ended up doing law, and I think that is a big factor in my life. And so yeah.
Let's take it step by step. I think
Sure.
first thing, because you said you're born and brought up in Bangalore, let me confirm that you are domicile Karnataka, and that makes you Karnataka state number one, right?
Sure.
So, well, yes, this is AR2. You also have a rank one,
Karnataka.
which is the Karnataka state rank. That's good. Second, I think that's an important point you make, that many students look at their 11 and 12 stream as something which is very deterministic.
Mhm.
Because I do science, therefore engineering is like a default option. Absolutely have respect for all the engineers, but there's no reason that it should be a default option.
For sure.
That's a
like
good point.
like me, for example, or even Aditya Atreya from last year, right? He also did science at my school. So I don't think choosing what you do in 11th or 12th should like determine what exactly you take up as a career. It can change at any moment, at any given point of time. And that realization will strike you in a very sudden but in a very profound way. So you're not going to know until you know. And when you know is something that's entirely dependent on your life. So I mean that hit came to me as well, and I realized that law is something that I want to pursue. So that's why I went ahead with. So I think that's a great point that you raised.
As an advice to people who are watching, it makes sense for people to try out things. As you
Yeah.
said, as you got into law, then the interest kept growing.
Hmm.
It could very well happen that somebody tries out an option, they don't like it, and then they
Yeah.
move on. That's fine.
Like
At
I
least
know
we have
many.
the option that they try.
Yes. So I know multiple of my other friends who initially started law with me. They later realized it's not for them, and they dropped out. And that's something that's perfectly okay to do, right? If you understand that it's not for you, and that you realize that it's maybe something that I do not want to continue doing, then it's perfectly all right to drop out or to consider taking another profession. So
And okay, can we try to do some analysis of what exactly really caught your attention or grabbed your interest when it comes to law?
So I mean, I'm sure like most people have the conventional suits answer, but it wasn't like that for me. I was super into debates and months and all of that as a kid, and I really loved the law. Like it was something that I would constantly fight over my friends with, and I guess I didn't realize it then that maybe law is an option for me until 10th grade, but it was always lingering there in the back of my mind that this is something that I'm interested in, this entire concept of the law. And I think in 10th, when I finally decided to make that call to like I mean after 10th, in 11th, when I decided to make that call, okay, let's try it, let's see if it works out. And then when I started like really enjoying it, and I started having a passion for the subject, I think that's what really got me hooked into taking up law.
So, okay, once you take a decision, this is something that you normally consult with the family. So, how supportive were the parents, and what about the
my
slightly
parents were
older side?
my parents were extremely supportive in everything I took up. Like they didn't pressure me in any way whatsoever. Like I'm extremely grateful to them, because my mom literally gave up her career to raise me and my brother. So I'm super grateful to them for everything they do. Like everything I have is because of them, and they were supportive in every way. They did not question my decision at all, and they guided me through it the entire time. Like I would not be here without them. So I
Wonderful.
think,
And this is the first step to kind of repaying that trust. So,
yeah.
and wider circle, did other people question, okay, why is this science student taking up law?
Yeah. So to be honest, everywhere I went, like most people would question why would a science student take up law, and in the start I didn't have that answer, but later on, as I realized that this is something I'm passionate about, that answer came to me. I realized that I told them like I took up science just to keep my options open, and that's something that's perfectly all right to do. But then I realized law is my thing, and I went for it, and I guess.
Great. So, so first step then is you realize that you wanted to go for law, and then
Yeah.
that kind of brought you to Career Launcher, Indranagar Center to be
Yeah.
specific. And then, can you tell us about how this program, worked for you and the stages that you went through in your prep?
Sure. So I was recommended Indranagar, Career Launcher by a friend, and they suggested I try out Indranagar because it's close to me. So I went there, and I started a bit late as compared to a few other people. But once I got in there and I sat in the first class, it was coincidentally with Mr. Animesh, who's like one of my favorite teachers because of just the person that he is. And I literally fell in love with the subject, and with the amount of support that you guys have given is incredible. So, stages of my journey, I would say in the start, I was extremely confused. I didn't know what was going on. But then, as I attended more classes, as I did more worksheets, as I solved more questions, I like started getting a hang of it. And beyond a point, I started realizing that yeah, this is how you go about it. This is how you do this. This is how you attend a mock or you attempt questions. And Career Launcher definitely guided me throughout the entire way. Like without their help, I don't think this would have been possible at all. So once you get past that stage of confusion, you move on to the stage of okay, how do I get better? And to get better, you ask questions. You literally go behind the teachers and like beg them to explain and plead with them. And once you get a satisfactory explanation, you move on and you go to another concept. And if you feel you didn't get a satisfactory explanation, you look it up yourself. So once you have that cemented, once you have your basics cemented, it goes on to mocks. So I think that's a very basic outline of a journey that you usually would have as a student at Career Launcher.
So, how open are the mentors, for example, in terms of argument or debate to why is
Very.
this answer
So
right?
I have spent a good 30 minutes. Like there's been instances where I spent a good 30 minutes of this single question arguing with Mr. Sridhar, Mr. Animesh. So they are very, very open. They are like, open to any question you ask them at all. And they're ready to give you like they're ready to give you answers till you understand the concept thoroughly. And I think it's extremely important that happens, because unless you understand what you're like reading or learning, it is not going to be beneficial for you in the long run. So, Career Launcher, the teachers were excellent. They were amazing in everything they did. They explained each concept, they explained each doubt and question extremely well. So, I think there's like every doubt session that I went to, I ended up learning more and like gaining more out of it than when I walked in the room. That was a definite
Right.
net positive.
So we covered mentors. Then let's look at the next step, which is, let's say, the mocks, right? And to some extent, mocks goes with what we call as strategy in
Mhm.
terms of how do we optimize the 120 minutes. So how did your journey of the mocks, and how did you fine tune your strategy of how you tackle a particular CLAT paper?
So again, as I started out in mocks back in December/Jan, I did not have an idea of what would be a good way to attempt it. So what everyone was advising me at that point, and I think they will give that advice to everyone, and it's something that everyone needs to consider, is to experiment, is to find out which attempting in what manner suits you the best, attempting in which style suits you the best. So ultimately, that decision comes up to you, and it will only come a trial and error. You have no other option. So as the mocks progressed and they got harder and harder, I think if you keep in touch with that and you practice and you make yourself better with each mock, you're able to stay up with that level of difficulty. And in the end, you're gonna end up just outshine. So I'd say practice is the only way you can actually get better. Without practice, it is not going to come easily to you. Practice mocks, practice questions, everything.
A word about the variety of marks provided and the level of difficulty, because people will say, look, this mark, this actual CLAT was very easy. At least
Mhm.
some of the sections were, but last year wasn't that easy. So
So
how does a student, prepare for all possible outcomes?
okay. So the paper honestly varies every year. You never know who's gonna set it, how they're gonna set it, and what the difficulty is be. So you can't really expect or like predict what's gonna come. So your best option is to prepare for everything that's possible. And I think as the mocks were released, they got progressively harder, like get prime and then countdown and all of that. So I think that's a good initiative because you get warmed up to the mocks, and then as they get progressively harder, you also progressively learn with it. And I think yeah. So that's pretty much it, I guess.
Okay, the so we covered mentors, we covered marks. One other very important, sometimes understated component in preparation is the peer group.
Hmm.
And I remember yesterday, before the results came out, we're there with a set of friends at Indranagar,
Yes, sir.
and I keep noticing, and this is something that you notice across all of our centers, is that the simple joy that, I mean, we don't see anybody who's a little, dull or a little repressed kind of stuff. There's so much of energy that the group has. So how did the peer group help in terms of competition, cooperation, and help and so on?
So a couple people initially when I got into it suggested I go into an online format instead, which would be rather one-on-one. But I felt it would be better to come offline because of a number of reasons. Frankly, number one, because of the atmosphere that the incentives have. That atmosphere inculcates learning, so you actually feel like learning and like learning some tidbits, something that's new. And because you make a lot of friends in the offline format. You make a lot of friends, and they all help you and support you in every way. Like I would not be here without the support of my friends at all. Like
You-
they've
You'd like to, you'd like to take a few names?
sure. Rigang, who's my best friend, Anna, Suchit, Ashlyn, and countless others, Manasvi, everyone over here. So these guys were all like incredible in support, and I think without that kind of support group, it is going to be incredibly hard to achieve a good rank because these guys will literally yell at you, they will scream at you when you go wrong, and they will also hold your hand and laugh with you when you do right. And that kind of atmosphere, it creates positivity, and at the same time like a passion for learning with them that will ultimately be more beneficial than trying to do it alone. So I would definitely recommend like coming up with a GK group or something like that later on. So that will definitely help.
Right. So 2 points from this. One is the in all likelihood, quite a few of these friends that you named would probably be studying with you. So you can continue both the learning and the friendship
Yeah.
at NLS Bangalore. Is that confirmed, or you're having any other
I
thoughts?
think so. I mean, I'm not too sure. I still have to take a call on it, but most
Okay.
likely MLS. Yeah.
So hopefully you will have a lot of these friends that you take along from here into NLS, and both the friendship and the learning continues. So that's the good part. The second part, I think, is a lesson for all those who are viewing, that look at preparing for CLAT as a team effort, from support at home to support of the teachers and mentors, as well as a good group who kind of studies together, motivates each other, kind of picks you up when you. I'm sure you had a couple of marks which didn't go as planned, and
Yeah. Like I remember there was one mock after which I was really sad and I was almost crying. And all of these guys were there for me and they consoled me, and that really helped me move on. Like because it's one bad mock, you cannot let that one bad mock decide your entire future. And because of their help, I moved on, and ultimately I am here because of what they did. I will like if I have to give credit to anyone, it is them. It's to my family and it's to Career Launcher entirely. My school for like giving me the opportunity to like bunk a few days so I could study, and my teachers were incredibly supportive. So without that kind of support group, it is going to be incredibly hard.
I'm sure you played a part in supporting the others when they
Yeah,
needed help. So that's
I hope so.
that goes. Yeah. Good. So let's take you to the day of the mock exam, actual CLAT exam. So, what were your first impressions when you started answering that paper?
To be honest, when I have a particular order. I start with legal, and then English, and then GK, and then logic, and then math. So when I read legal, I thought, okay, wait, this paper is seemingly very easy. So they might make math very hard, or maybe GK very hard. And as I kept going through the paper, I realized that this entire paper was a seemingly simple one, except for maybe logic, where there were a few tricky questions. So on the day, I kind of felt nervous because I knew that because of such an easy paper, the cutoffs would be very, very high. And I think that's something that all of my friends have suffered with, who maybe aren't making it to NLS today, because the number of people that got stagnated in that 90 to 100 mark range is a lot. And I think that negatively impacted everyone. So I honestly don't think this paper was a very good one because of the level of ease and the high uh, the high ranges, of course, the mark.
I understand that, and it's heartbreaking to see people. I just spoke to somebody who is short of NLS by zero point 0.5 marks, just zero point 0.5, right? So what do you tell them? I mean, they are at four ranks away from the Karnataka domicile. So, but unless miracle happens and four of people drop out, they don't really get that.
Mm.
So, and it's just zero point 0.5 mark. But on the positive side, I think we look at what I liked about your performance is that you adapted to the paper. The paper was easy. You realized that it's going to be high cutoff. Then you basically also probably sped up and knew that you had to attempt a lot.
Correct.
Did you attempt all the questions?
Yeah, I attempted everything.
So,
So
uh, yeah, go ahead.
like you as sir said, like you have to adapt to the paper. If it's an extremely easy one, and if the section itself is very easy and you know that you need to put in attempts, speed through English, speed through math, speed through GK, because these are sections you can score very well in if they're very easy. Whereas logic and legal usually require a bit of thinking, so you can reserve time for there in case that section turns out to be hard. So it's incredibly important that on the day of the exam you learn to adapt. You don't stay fixed, because that might end up leading to a downfall.
Right. So while I must say that Pradyot makes it sounds easy, but it takes an incredible amount of confidence to say that in an actual exam, I'm actually going to up my speed. But I think, yeah, the practice, the marks, the confidence comes from there. And then he knows that, yes, if it's an easy paper, I do it in 15 minutes a section, I'll still get a good score. That confidence is something that you need to build over practice. You can't just do it overnight.
Yeah,
I think that disclaimer was needed because somebody, without the skill and practice, if they try to, speed up, it doesn't work. But yes,
yeah,
with
definitely.
your kind of effort, yes, it does work. Great. So, how did you feel at the end of the paper?
I was a bit happy considering I thought it went very well, and I remember coming out of the exam and everyone was freaking out over how easy it was and how high the cutoffs are going to be. And I think that kind of did lead to a bit of nervousness because I was scared. I was very, very scared. I honestly did not expect to get AI2 at all. If I had an expectation, it would be at best getting into NLS at the last seat or something. So I guess, yeah, the overwhelming emotion was fear. But at the same time, it was kind of also happiness because of how easy the paper was. And I knew that I'd done good, but not this good.
But you've done your best in that
Yeah.
sense. What
So
could
like,
have been?
as long as you're able to convince yourself that you've given it all you have, that you've practiced as much as you could, and you attempted everything that you could possibly. Not saying that good attempts is like high number of attempts is a good thing. That disclaimer needs to be out there. But as long as you feel that you gave it everything you had and all of your thinking and all of your brain power, and you come out of that exam and you have that smile on your face, I think that's the most important thing after the test, that you have a smile on your face.
Great. And when the day the results came through, which is yesterday, so
Yeah.
what's the feeling?
It was actually my friend's birthday yesterday. So he was taking us out, and I had a headache, so I was sleeping. And my parents at home were checking the result the entire time. And I remember getting woken up by everyone in the car, and they were just screaming and yelling because they themselves couldn't believe it. And I was in utter shock. I still haven't processed it, to be very honest, but the results were amazing for me. But I think at the same time, on the opposite end of the spectrum, there were many of my friends who were scoring as much or even higher than me, who ended up not doing very well. And I think that's something that like, it always, there's two sides of a coin. Like, there are some who are going to do good and there are some who are going to do bad. And for all those who probably didn't do very well this year, or like think they didn't do as much as they expected, I'd say all you can do is process it for a couple of days and like move on, because there is no point in obsessing over it. We know you gave it your all. The paper was a bit tricky and it was a bit I mean, I didn't really approve of the way they conducted a few
I,
things.
if I can
And
pass it on, there are two things to take away from what you just said. One is the kind of bond that you have with people that you prepared with. I think that is the first thing that comes through. Second, the humility, despite having a kind of celebrity status right now, that you understand that on a day it could have been somebody else up there. They were almost as good as you, the people who prepared with you. I think that will keep you, that rootedness to the ground is something that probably will hold you in good state, right? We always remember that, yes, today was my day, but yes, there were people who were almost as good and who just faltered on this particular day. That's great. That's good. So that's broadly all the questions that I prepared for. Any tips that you want, because they're, in Indranagar Center and other centers like Jayanagar, Kormangla, Malleshwaram, we have students who are going for their, of course, across India. I'm sorry. I keep thinking of Bangalore all the time. There are people who are going for the 2025 CLAT, and maybe even those who will come for 26 CLAT. So, what kind of tips or advice would you give for that?
So in general, I'd say it's okay to take it slow in the start. Just get your feel of everything, get your basics down, and once I think the toppers meet happens, that's when my friends and me actually started preparing extremely seriously. I think that's a good point of time. It was around I think March. I'm not too sure about the date, but around March is when we all started preparing seriously. So that might be something you want to consider. So till March, you're welcome to try out everything, try what suits you, but after March, get into it seriously. So for GK, I'd advise get a study group, because they will help you immensely in everything. Like my study group, we weren't too many people; we were 4 people, but I think too many people is also bad, and too less people will also be bad unless you have a lot of time. So 3 or 4 people would be ideal, and just stick with it. Do Drishti, do News Canvas, everything. Use your sources wisely, and prepare. Because if you don't have a good GK dog, luckily we got easy. Like we got lucky that it was entirely RC, but it might not be the case next year. So you want to concentrate on GK because it's a significant proportion of your marks. Um, Now for science students, because I'm a science student, I just wanted to maybe give them a few tips. It is going to be hard because you're going to be balancing school and humanities and law, which is like completely not related. There are certain aspects, sure, but if you were taking humanities, for example, that would mean you have a slight edge. It doesn't mean that you get demotivated or that you start feeling that this is not for me. Because if you have the passion for law, you should consider it no matter what stream you've taken. Uh, I think that's broadly it. If anyone has any tips, questions, they're welcome to get in touch with me. Uh, Broadly, that's all.
Right. Thank you so much, Pradyot, on behalf of Career Launcher Bangalore and, of course, Career Launcher India. Very happy that you're very happy with your rank. My congratulations to you and your parents. And I'm really hopeful that a lot of your close friends will be there studying with you so that you can continue this.
Yes.
And hopefully, we can send a few more of your juniors to join you next year,
Sure.
and the process keeps going, right? Unfortunately, I won't be joining, so he won't have me as a classmate. So, right. That's it,
So
Vishal. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
just like to thank Career Launcher for everything they've done. Like without their support, without the teachers, without everyone organizing all these mocks and everything, it would be it would be almost impossible to do anything that I've done. Like this would be nothing without your support and guidance. So I would like to thank all of the faculty in cardiology.